Hi, my name is Laura. I'm from a small town in eastern Iowa, and today my son and I decided to work on something other than freeze drying eggs. So we ran to the store and got 10 bunches of kale. So I got out my big bowl. It's a 30 quart. I call her Bertha. I have two of them. I use them all the time. So I'm just going to get the leaves off of the stem, and I'm going to save my stem and give it to my girls. So I'm going to do that, and as I'm cutting it up, I'm going to put it into my bowl, and then I'll fill it with some cold water. That way it washes it off. So we don't eat a ton of kale. We really like it in soup, more specifically zuppa toscana. So that is the intent here, is to add it to soups this winter. And honestly, I didn't have to do 10 bunches. This made so much. I very much overestimated how much I would need, but that's okay. I end up giving a whole bunch to the chicken, and they love it, and the rest will be ready for us when soup season comes around again. So I do have some kale growing in my garden, more specifically in my green stock. But that was such a last minute planting, so there's not a whole lot. And I planted it more so that I could grab a treat for the chickens if I go out, So I did have to, obviously, as you can see the price tag or the UPC, I did buy these from the store. But maybe next year, honestly, I don't think I'm going to have to put up kale for a few years based on how much we're able to get. But next time, maybe I'll plant enough that I won't have to buy any from the store. If you couldn't tell, I have my munchkin with me today while I'm doing the voiceover work. And he loves when I talk, so he has to, talk back. So apologize if it's bothering you. I think it's adorable. So I'm going to not worry about it. So a few ways to reconstitute this is obviously just add it directly into a soup, which will be my preferred method. But I also saw that if you're wanting to just bring it back to life to eat fresh, you just spray it with water until it all comes back. So I might have to try that and add it into like a salad or something. So this is what I have so far, and I'm pretty sure it will be enough to fill my 5 medium trays. So I'm going to add some cold water to it and zhuzh it around, get everything nice and clean before I start putting them on my trays. So I'm filling my tray, and I way overfilled it, which you'll see. I go and test it, and it is way overfilled, so I have to take a layer off. So I guess in the case of kale, less is more. So this did take me 3 rounds through the freeze dryer, and that was 7 bunches of kale. So 7 bunches of kale takes 3 rounds in a 5 tray medium freeze dryer. This is where I had went and tested it out, and it was way too full. So I'm just taking some off. Then I'll get all my other trays filled, and we'll keep rolling. All right, with the last tray done, my freezer is full, and I'm gonna let it go. These didn't take very long, not even maybe 14, 15 hours. So I have those 3 bunches left. I went ahead and chopped all the rest, and I'm just letting it soak in some cold water. And I'll get that packaged up and in the fridge for whenever I have time to run them all. I did run a section or a round of eggs between some of these because I have such an influx. So these are all going to go out to the girls.
Girls, got your snacks.
All right, so here is the first round, and these are going in bags for long-term storage. So we'll get these put into Mylar. And here is the final batch. I apparently didn't record the second, so we'll get these ones packaged up. So for these ones, I'm going to put them into mason jars and keep them up in my upstairs pantry, my kitchen pantry. And these will get used first, and then we'll dig into the Mylar ones. This made literally so much. It's gonna be years, at least like 3 or 4, before I go through it all, unless we find other recipes we love it in. So as I'm putting it in the jar, I am going to just kind of break it up because it's going to soup. We don't need these big old leafy parts. And rather than taking the time to cut them down as small as I wanted, I can just crush them with my fingers and they'll be pretty much perfect for soup and how we like it. So I'm going to get all these put into jars and then we'll show you how we seal them up to make sure that no air gets in. Now you could take them directly from the tray and dump it into your blender and make a kale powder if you wanted that for soup or whatever else. But I don't think I want kale in my smoothies, but I could be wrong. Let me know if it's good. And I can always take one jar at a time and blend it up if it ends up being good and I get a good idea. So let me know. One thing worth a mention. I did not like the smell that this put out when I was freeze drying it. And I think it was more like the water that had drained after it defrosted, but it just kind of stank. And my husband's like, I'm not sure what that smell is. I'm like, I think I know. So if we're to do it again, I think we'll wait till we move when the freeze dryer has its own space and it's not in the kitchen where, you know, everyone else can smell it. That's my only qualm with freeze drying kale. You can crumble this as small as you like. I could have fit it all in one jar, but I didn't want my pieces quite that small. So here's what they look like, and I'm already super excited for soup season. So I'm gonna grab some lids, and for freeze-dried stuff, I used lids typically, if I have any. The rubber is still intact enough for that. So I'm gonna get my lids on and then we'll get out my special tool. You absolutely can put an oxygen absorber in there. I'm gonna use these, when is soup season? What, like 6 months away? That's crazy to think about. So I'm not gonna worry about it. I'm just gonna use my jar vacuum sealer, and I can link the one I have in the description of this video. I love it. I use it so much for all different things. So I'm just gonna go through and seal all of these up. All right, it's done, and tip it over. Lid stays on, it's nice and tight, and I seal them with a ring just in case a failure happens, but I haven't had a failure quite yet except for some whole blueberries I did, but I think that was a user error on that one. or it could have been a bad lid. I don't know. I did put a new lid on it and suck it out again, and it worked just fine. So I'm gonna go around and finish these up. All right, 7 bunches of kale later, and I've got 3 gallon bags for my downstairs long-term storage and 3 jars for my pantry up here. Thanks for watching. Have a great week.